The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
City women over 35, and who I am Candace Harper, lovecoach.com, coming to you live from the V Club. Let's hear it, V Club. Woo! Right, we got a full house tonight. I teach and inspire audacious intimacy to powerful, professional, grown women who want real relationships from seductive singlehoods. And more importantly, I help single city women over 35 who've given up on love discover their passions and purpose and stop getting ghosted. And like I said, we're at the V Club. It's one of my most favorite places to be. It's a gorgeous venue in the heart of Chelsea where women take classes, workshops, and attend events around sex and relationships. And you can check it out by going to thevclub.com and see what's on their calendar. So you may be listening to us on TuneIn, listening to Armed Radio. Maybe you're here on the Facebook Live. I see Lee just got here. I see Sheila's here. I see Devin's here. Welcome everybody who's coming in. You might be listening to us in the garden on armedradioglobal.com. If you have an Alexa, you can ask for Candy and on iHeartRadio, or perhaps maybe you'll join our group, the Creative Love Collective, or Armed Radio Group News. I'm very excited tonight. I feel like there's so much energy. I'm going too fast for myself. Sheila says hello from Vietnam. Hi, Sheila. She travels and teaches and stuff like that. Lee says hello. Hello, Lee. Lee is my unofficial co-host. He's always on the Facebook Live and he's always in the juicy conversation. I'm glad you're here, Lee. Also, for those of you who are listening out in audio land, you can call in 1-800-508-5431, at any time during the show. If you just want to chime in, you have something to say. And if you're introverted and shy, you can email us at askforcandypodcast@gmail.com. Like I said, for those of you who have never been here before, hi, Errol, who just joined us. I am Candace Harper, lovecoach.com, and my talent is conversation. My passion is personal growth, and my purpose is to teach and inspire radical self-acceptance in myself and others so that we can all have our best possible love life. And what this show is about, each week we have lively conversations about different topics relating to love and relationships. Sometimes we bring on special guests. Tonight I have a very special guest that I cannot wait to introduce her. And sometimes we play games and have activities. Always we get a chance to laugh, cry, or just learn something new. And that is why this is a conversation. We're not here to hand down a bunch of dating and relationship rules or rights and wrongs. We're not here to shame your love situation. Our only intention is to create audacious intimacy, seductive singlehoods, and healthy relationships. And tonight's topic, we're going to be talking about the 5 big challenges to going from single to in a committed relationship after a long hiatus. And our guest tonight is going to give us some ways to overcome those challenges. So the goal of this show is for all of you listeners out there who haven't dated in a while or suffered some sort of love trauma, for you to engage in some sort of healing process so, you can start answering your desires again. Because we all need to have what we want. We all deserve it just by right of being human. That's the way I believe it. Mm-hmm. But let me introduce you to my special guest. I'm so excited. Shula Melamed. And also the ladies of the V Club, but I'm going to introduce Shula first. She is a relationship coach who works with individuals, couples, and groups looking to identify and address challenges in their intimate lives head on. She explores issues related to communication, sexuality, and pleasure. Her approach is informed by theories and practices of psychology, sociology, and anthropology. Shula holds a master's in psychology from the New School University and a master's in sexuality and health from Columbia University, where she researched women who take pole dance fitness classes. I used to do that. We have to talk about that.
Yeah,
and the role of pleasure in sexual health interventions. Before she started her practice, she worked as the assistant to an upscale matchmaker, a social skills coach, and as a dancing anthropologist for an NIH-funded research program. Shula, say hello to everybody. Tell us a little about you.
First of all, thank you so much for having me on the pod. I am so excited to be here. I'm so excited to be here at the V Club. I have a great fondness for this place, and I have history with Jamie, who is one of the main educators here, and I met Courtney at Planned Parenthood. So I know that the programs here are just amazing. So thank you so much for having me here.
Absolutely.
I'm so excited to talk about this topic. I do, as Candace said, I talk about relationships, sexuality, intimacy, all of those things with individuals, couples, and groups. And I think that this particular topic, taking a hiatus and entering the dating world again after a long pause, is one of the, I wouldn't say it's the main thing that I deal with, but even if it's a pause from actually being out there, it's also sometimes you take pause because there are no opportunities, but you don't create opportunities for yourself. So how do you create those opportunities? For me, in my practice, it's all about creating possibilities. Whether you are single, whether you're in a relationship, or whatever your status is, really seeing that what it is that you want, you're worthy of it.
Yes.
And really, really going for it. So, and I can answer any questions about working for a matchmaker, pole dancing classes that I've taken all over the world, and being a go-go dancing anthropologist. I can talk about that as well. So I'm really excited to just get the conversation going. You can learn more about me on my website. We could talk about that later. And let's just get into the conversation.
Let's get into it, right? I also do want to say this, the ladies, and we have a gentleman tonight here at the V Club. Yes. So I just want to give a quick shout out. We have Alex, our one gentleman that's here tonight. We have Sarah, Jamie, Yona, and Catherine, who've also joined us, so they're going to be in on the conversation. And I see on the Facebook Live that Jacqueline and Joseph and Hazel and Mary Beth joined us. Hello. Devin says offer or invite. I don't know what you're saying there, Devin, but it sounds like you're suggesting something dirty. Say pole dancing classes. What? We'll talk about that later, right?
Talk about all of it. Sometimes that's what you have to do before you get back into the dating.
Right?
Just saying.
So I was telling the ladies before, as I was doing sort of the research for what we were going to talk about, I decided to kind of talk to clients, talk to friends, and look at my own, because you guys know I always say I'm the coach on the court, right? Look at my own relationship issues and the things that come up for me. And I came up with these 5 big challenges that kept being the reoccurring things that people were talking about, that they feel like are the things that keep them, from what you were talking about, like being out there and being engaged, right? And actually enjoying their love lives. So we came up with 5, of which I've shared with the ladies, but we're going to go through them one by one and really delve into them, right?
Right. Let's
do
it.
The very first one that we came up with was age. So, obviously a lot of times when people go through divorce or, loss of a spouse or, whatever it may be, sometimes a lot of years can go by, and the older you get, sometimes you start to feel like, you're losing your looks, or maybe you're not as, sexy as you used to be. Maybe you're nervous about that everyone's digital dating, a story of, am I getting too old to even be dating? And sometimes I feel like, especially for me, I started to have a little bit of shame around I'm in my 40s and I'm dating. Is that even how do I take myself seriously? Which I know it's a story that I made up, but I feel like that's what people go through.
Yes.
Yeah,
for sure. And I think what you said is really important. It's a story.
Yeah.
And when you create a story like that, I'm 40, how am I even going to share that with a person that I'm 40 and I'm out there and dating? That is a way for you to protect yourself from all of the things that happen when you date, which are, sometimes not that pleasant. I mean, I wish I could tell you that when you went out into the dating pool that it was all going to be great. You were never going to get rejected. You were never going to suffer any kind of, sadness or whatever it is from dating. But you have to just let go of that and think about what do I really want? Yeah. If you want a relationship, if you want to connect with another person, you have to take that story and you have to just look it in the face and say, okay, I get it. You're scared to date, but there are many people who are in their 40s who are dating, who are meeting people, who are getting married for the first time, who are getting married for the second time, who are getting married for the third time, or whatever it is. Even if marriage is not what you want, they're connecting because they feel that they're worthy of that connection. You can make a million excuses for why you don't want to go out and date.
Not wanting big shoes in your closet.
You just leave them outside the door, right? In the drain.
Right?
That's a no-shoe household.
I
and that's a simple. Right.
Keep it by the
I'm
door.
cutting through that story right now.
I love it.
We're stopping.
But you know, like that just represents like as you get older, you get so like I got so set in my ways of how I like things, how I like things to be in the house, things like that, and it sounds so minuscule, but it's one of those things that I think.
The shooting's a real thing.
Well, I mean, I would not be with someone because I don't want big shoes in my closet. But you get so used to like having a very girly space that smells good, a tea garden, you know, your house the way you want it,
right?
That's
and
what
I think
Joy Behar said. I want a man in my life. I just want him in my house.
Right.
Well, you could also like I don't know. I mean, depends on how you want to live, but yeah.
But I think you made a good point because I feel like even those little small things, like we joke about them, but they're just like excuses to kind of stand in the way. It's like, what do you really, if you really want to be with someone, it's like suck it up and let the size 12s be in your, or 14s or whatever. 14s girls. 14s and 16s. Right? You suck it up and you allow for things that you might not want to.
Right. And I think that if you are, and even if you are in a relationship, I also want to say, like, I know we're talking about dating and being single right now, but I think it's important for people to know, even when they're dating or when they're single, to know that you have to allow for possibilities in your life. You have to allow for things to change. And when things challenge you, it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
If you get too stuck in your way, do you really want to live that kind of life? Do you want that kind of monotony?
Yeah.
Do you want just day after day the same thing? You light the same candles, you do the same thing, you go to sleep, you're fine, you're happy, you're cozy. But the thing is, like, we're here to experience and to taste different things and to be challenged and to be hurt, but like not obviously, like that's not like the goal is to be hurt, but it's part of the human experience. But then also without that risk, there's no reward. There's you don't have those moments of transcendence. And if you feel confident in yourself and what you deserve and who you are, those things don't bother you as much.
Yeah.
They just don't bother you as much. Of course they hurt, or they feel confusing or whatever it is, but it doesn't shake you to the core of who you are.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. And I think too, like as we get older, we do get an opportunity to get more in tune with ourselves, right? So that like things like rejection don't like completely shut you down, or that you don't get along, living wise. Like it's not like it has to be the end of it. Like I can remember in my 20s being in a relationship where it's like if you weren't doing something living wise, it was like the end of the world. If I had to fall in the toilet seat one more time, it was like we're fighting about it. Whereas now, you know what I mean?
Separate bathrooms,
right?
I'm just saying they do help.
But no,
if you can afford
like
it,
that.
invest in that.
Yeah. Does anybody else want to share anything on that one? Like if age is a thing, or like, that feeling of uncertainty, or, it could either be that you become more uncertain or that you become more self-assured, depending on how you allow yourself to.
Actually, I want to share something on that because I do talk to some clients who are older. They're in their almost 40, they're in their late 30s, and they feel like they're competing with women who are like 27, like for the same dating pool of who they're going for.
Yeah.
And they scroll through and they're like, look at what I'm dealing with. Look at what I'm competing with. Look at what I'm doing. And I'm like, you know what? You can focus on that, or you can focus on like really trying to connect to another person. Another person doesn't want to connect to you because they're too busy like swiping through this and they're just like obsessed with whatever it is, like then that's not the person for you.
Yeah.
But if you want to sit here and swipe and be miserable about that, and then have this conversation with yourself that you're not worthy of finding someone else because you're competing with all these people, be my guest. But guess what? That's not getting you a relationship anytime soon. Yeah. And it's not making you feel good about yourself either. So just stop. Competition is for dogs and horses. Get off of it. Invest in yourself. Love yourself. And just freaking go for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's it.
I feel like being an older woman, I feel like I attract younger men and I get labeled a cougar. And that's like I hate that term, but I don't know what it is. I'm 65. I have a lot of energy.
You got nerve, honey.
And I for some reason, all these young guys hit on me. And it's like, I go out with people my age and they're 70. I'm like, you're like an old man. I don't want to, I don't. So I have that problem of like, kind of dating, into a different age group, but
it's a great problem.
Yeah,
it is.
What's the problem with it? What do you think? It's like
well,
the societal.
The thing is I'm like, what am I just going after maintenance man, you know, and
You should just enjoy it and have
yeah.
fun with that.
but I want to have a relationship. I never slept around. That's the thing. I don't want
It's never
to.
too late. No, just kidding.
It's never too late to do what you might have been.
I'm just kidding. But it's not your style. It's not what you want.
Yeah, I want a quality relationship with someone, you know, and it's, I don't know if a 35-year-old guy is going to be, you know,
ready for
like my match, you know, but energy wise, that's kind of what I attract now. And it's like, then I get the label of the cougar, and it's like, oh God.
Who's labeling you? You're labeling yourself, or your friends are
My
labeling
friends.
you?
Yeah. They were like, oh,
I don't know about those
girlfriend.
Why does
Girlfriend.
it bother you so much?
Just because I think I need somebody more my age, but I don't. I haven't met the 70-year-old.
Split the difference.
I haven't met the 70-year-old.
Wait, Alex was about to. You were about to say something.
No, I was just curious if that label cougar in your head automatically means you can't picture having a relationship with somebody in that age group. Is it, you know, the story that you're telling yourself that's excluding those possibilities?
Right, because I think the cougars I've met have been like really tacky and very, you know, they're weird. They're short. Their skirts too short. I'm a gorgeous, you know. I have great gams, you know, and it's like, yeah, you know, you're over 50, honey, you know, you know.
But then there's
So
women like
what?
Tina Turner, and her lover is like what, 25 years, 30 years, or something younger.
I know. I think I'm gonna have to just like fess up.
Right.
And just say,
Just enjoy those things that man can. That's what you need. Just enjoy those men.
But also, like,
They love you.
right?
it's having an honest conversation. Yeah, have a conversation with these people. I mean, a 35-year-old man you might want different things in life. Like, that's like what the issue is, right? Like, you're not necessarily, like, maybe he wants to like have kids and do things that are like maybe not necessarily things that are on your horizon at this point, right?
Exactly.
You know, and I mean, that's, you can have fun with him, but also manage expectations. The thing about cougar is like slut, you know, it's like a made-up term to kind of keep women in their place, right?
Yeah.
Like another-
So
I mean, what do you call like you know, an older dude, you know, who's with a younger woman? Like, what do you call that? You don't call it anything. You call it life. You know what I mean?
summer
So
42, May, December. You know,
Yeah,
whatever,
May, December.
But, cougar just really, it's just like, oh my God,
but there's, you know,
that's like a knife.
until you start calling those men old dogs, like, who cares what cougar is? Exactly. You know, I think it's just.
And even when people do, they don't care.
Right.
Like older men who like younger women, you can
they
call
don't
them whatever
care.
you want.
They love it. They're like,
And
I'm
we
hooking
need that
up with a
same
younger
kind of
woman.
like, right?
Yeah, so,
Like, call me whatever you want. I'm getting laid, honey.
right.
Yeah, take
Right.
ownership.
Don't get distracted by those relationships to not find the relationships that you want. There might be men that are closer to your age who aren't, you know, snooze fests, you know, who can match your energy. Or
Right.
split the
I
difference,
know.
as
I
I
have to
said.
find
I get what you're
difference.
saying though, because I don't like men that are like older than me. But you're right. Like, I do think that if you just open up, then there's always that possibility that someone, you know, for me, it's like guys who are like in their mid 50s. It's like starting to get a little old for me. But I have met some that do have the youthful energy. Whether or not we're compatible is a different thing, but it is a possibility. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because, you know, sometimes they slow down.
Right.
And it's like when you're energetic and you want to do stuff and they want to sit and watch, you know, football. And,
I have this theory that like women should always be with men that are a lot younger than them.
yeah.
Tell us, Sarah.
Tell us, honey.
So first of all, my first argument is the fact that if you look at statistics, men always tend to die a lot younger than women do.
We're pulling
So
in
that's-
statistics for this.
That's like, if you look at it,
Yeah.
that's kind of what happens. So that's
Yeah.
the first issue. The second issue is that like men tend to reach their sexual peak in like their mid-20s. Women reach it in their mid-30s. So it's kind of like, why is there so much shame surrounding like a woman being with a man that's like 10 years younger than her?
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I feel like
And he's already out of his sexual peak anyway, so
Yeah.
let's
Right.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But I think sexual peaks are they're different for each person, but I'm
Right.
just gonna go with that. I
That's-
think
but
I
it's
think
just
it's different
like-
for each person.
I don't know. I feel like, why is it such a big deal for a woman to be with a younger man? I think that there are many reasons why that's not such a terrible thing.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
I think just taking away the stigma of the cougar label, or just like not letting it offend you, or not using it. I think one of the things that we can do, like the most powerful things that we can do as just people in general, like is the way that we talk about things. So if you don't like the word cougar being used, then don't use it, or don't even think about it as a real thing. It's a made up
Like, don't
thing.
make it mean anything.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything. It's like slut. It's like,
Take the shame out
it's
of it.
it's just like, no, either like reclaim it and be like, okay, yeah, I'm a cougar. These young guys like me, or just be like, I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Like somebody could say it to you, and you could be like, I don't know what that means. What do you mean? What
is this language you speak?
Why do you mean that? Like in the zoo?
Yeah.
I'm wild, but I'm not in the zoo, baby. You know, like so.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yay on that one. I see Hyam joined us. And Devin wants the number. Are you going to call us, Devin? It's 1-800-508-5431. So I don't know if you have anything good on the age thing, but we're moving on to the next thing. So the next one that was sort of the reoccurring, and I actually have had experience with this myself, because you guys know I talk about my last relationship was somewhat of an abusive relationship. So emotional, physical trauma. So often after an abusive relationship is much harder to find ourselves able to connect and be vulnerable with other people, right? Because we've been through things, we're trying to heal it, whatever. So how do we allow the healing process, and what can we do to re-engage with others in a romantic way after having been through, whether it's emotional abuse or physical abuse, like what is your advice for, how to get back to a space where you're like open to it at all?
So the most important, and I'm very sorry that you went through that, and I'm sorry to hear that's something that a lesson that you learned and a thing that you went through. So I just want to acknowledge that. Yeah. And I think that the most important thing to do is to learn your boundaries.
Yeah.
Because when you're in an abusive relationship, whether it's, psychological, physical, mental, there is a boundary crossing that happens there.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us don't have a good sense of where our boundaries are. And
I totally didn't. Not in that relationship.
No, and if you have a kind of a porous boundaries, for lack of a better word, once somebody has that toxic energy or that controlling energy, and you're not really sure, you trust them, you think, okay, this person is going to have my best interests at hand because that's what I do, because I'm a normal person, like I'm a kind person, right? Which is, I'm assuming, the orientation that you're having or that many people have. And the problem is that a lot of times people aren't going to take care of you, or they don't know how to, or a lot of times people have their own stuff that they're working on.
Totally.
And just because somebody is not able to recognize your boundaries doesn't mean that they're a bad person. It just means that you have to show them how to treat you.
Yeah.
So you have to know what your boundaries are. And so boundaries are basically where, and the important reason why you should know where your boundaries are, because then you know when to push them, right? You know when it's safe to have fun and to go outside of your comfort zone, right? So it's not about being controlling and deflecting a person 100% and not being open to what they have. It's about you really knowing, when to say, you know what, I'm not comfortable with this. This is not something that I'm up for. Why did you can't speak to me this way, and knowing, that you can say yes and you can say no and you can say maybe. Yeah. So I think really getting a good sense of your boundaries is number one. Yeah. And we don't necessarily have the best, we learn about these in our families, how we're growing up, and sometimes the boundaries there aren't so great, or in our community or in our schools or whatever it is, we witness things and we absorb them. Nobody sits down and they're like, this is what your emotional boundaries are. Yeah. No, they say, okay, if a stranger danger, all of that other stuff, people talk about that, but the emotional boundaries, we get a lot of mixed messages. So as adults, we have to sit and think, okay, what's okay for me and what's not okay for me? What feels good? What doesn't feel good? Do I get myself into situations where I let people take advantage of my time or my, my body, my mind, whatever it is, and really identifying what those boundaries are, and then sharing them with another person and allowing them to see and giving them a chance to respect them or to try to cross them, and then you tell them, okay, no, I'm not okay with this. Yeah. and having it be a conversation as opposed to they have the right to whatever it is that they want, right?
Yeah.
And then the best part about having boundaries is then you can push them, then you can have fun with them.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. I would say that's number one.
I love that. I absolutely love it. And I will say, like, what my experience was, and, you know, what clients that I've dealt with or people that I've talked to since then, or, you know, even just, you know, other women who've been through it, other men who've been through it. The boundaries thing is definitely what comes up. And I have to say that even at the age that I'm at now, like and it's funny, within the past few weeks, even, I realize, like, the more powerful I am about my no's and my yeses, the more I get kickback, because I've trained people in my life that I don't have boundaries about things.
Exactly.
Now, you know, since I've been through a healing process from that abusive relationship, what I notice now is that, you know, this strength that's coming out, the people who've known me for a long time, they're used to me not having those boundaries. And so that's the thing. I think once you, like what you're talking about, when you get to that healing space where you're ready to say your hard no's and your hard yeses, you know what you want, and you're communicating it with the people around you, sometimes you'll get a lot of kickback. And sometimes you'll get a lot of, like, you know, people not getting it and understanding and having a hard time with it.
That's a huge part of the transformational process.
Yeah.
In my own life, the moment, because I was always like a pushover. I was always the type of person that would just give without any boundaries.
Yeah.
And the moment that I started to really be like, no, this doesn't feel good for me. No, I can't do that for you today. I noticed that a lot of people started to fall away from my life. But you know what's awesome about that process? The best people showed up for me.
Yeah.
New people showed up.
Yeah.
The best people.
Yeah.
So, you know, sometimes we're really, really afraid of letting go of people that we've had in our lives for a long time because it makes us feel safe. On some level, that kind of like dynamic makes us feel safe only because it's what we're accustomed to, not necessarily because it's in our best interest.
Yeah.
But when we are actually like 100% honest about how we feel and honest about, like, no, this is not right. I feel like you're taking advantage of me. Then all of a sudden, maybe those people go, and it's kind of sad to see them leave. Yeah. But then people who respect your boundaries start to show
come
up.
in. Yeah.
So it's kind of a miraculous thing in that way.
Yeah.
So, you know, you're scared to let go, but then when you leave that space, then the good things come.
Absolutely. Like you start to attract something different.
Just and the idea of using boundaries too to build mutual trust is that if you can say to somebody, you know, I'm not comfortable with this, this is beyond my boundary, and they can respect that, when you then say, like, yes, I want to do this, you know, and they know that it's a full-hearted yes.
Yeah.
This is something that you're really,
like they can trust your yes.
into, as opposed to, oh, like forcing the person into saying yes, and I'm not sure I want to do this.
Yeah.
Like it makes it much stronger.
Yeah.
It's such a,
like
an amazing point. Yeah.
That's
both amazing
it does take time to express those feelings and manage it and say the right way, the right time. It takes skill and it takes experience and it takes a lot.
Mm-hmm. You have to be able to trust yourself and know what your own boundaries are, and trust that the other person will respect them. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's
so
not
anyone coming from an abusive relationship takes a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, that's the thing, though. I feel like it can take a lot of time, but also it's like there's no. It's like what you were talking about with possibilities. There's no rules for how the healing process goes either, because sometimes it can be like a light switch, and sometimes you're just like, fuck this, like I'm doing it now, and sometimes you're right. It does take that time. You got to cry it out. You got to process it. But I think the key here is like the willingness to allow yourself to take the space that you personally need. Yeah. And being okay with it. Like, you know, whatever pain, like for me, I know that, you know, whatever pain I went through with that person, and, you know, recognizing whatever I was responsible for, whatever he was responsible for, whatever, my healing process just had to be what it was. And the moment I started judging it or deciding that it needed to be, you know, longer or shorter, or that I needed to stop, or, you know, whatever. Or perfect, or there was a way to do it.
The most ideal. That's a dangerous concept, perfection.
The perfect way. And also sometimes you'll find yourself sliding into old patterns. All of a sudden overly accommodating, all of a sudden feeling resentful because you're putting yourself out more than you think you should be, and you're like, okay, something's going on.
Which I thought was amazing. It's on YouTube if you guys want to check it out. And she talks about that. She talks about like how do you, get into the dating game? How do you deal with the diagnosis and then get yourself back to a space where you're like comfortable with it? So let's talk about that.
Yes. Well, the human body is an amazing thing, and we transmit things to each other, and sometimes it happens. Sexually transmitted disease infections happen, and there's a lot of stigma around them. But and I think there's a lot of secrecy around them.
Yeah.
But they're much more common than we would think. And I think one of the reasons why Lauren HD's YouTube channel is amazing is that she really wants to take the stigma out of it. And she talks very openly and very transparently about her STI diagnosis and what it means for getting out there and dating. And I think a lot of times when people have an STI, they think, well, this is just one more thing. When people go out, they want to be accepted and they don't want to be rejected. And they think, well, if I present this as another thing that's maybe like a minus. Yeah. So they start thinking about it. They start kind of objectifying themselves in a weird way as that they are their diagnosis. Yeah. They're not their diagnosis. It's just like a virus that you're carrying in your body. It's something that you can manage. And if you're honest about it, maybe there are going to be some people who will not be able to handle it. And they get freaked out right away. Maybe they're not the person that you want to be with because it's with the stigma is really a moral stigma, and at the end of the day, it's just a medical condition that can be managed a lot of the time. So
I was thinking too, because as I was watching the video you did with Lauren, I went down sort of a YouTube vortex. Mm-hmm. I went down a rabbit hole. I started watching like TED Talks about it and things like that. And I was thinking too, like, I can't remember the woman's name. She did a TED Talk in Connecticut, but she was talking about how, these things happen to us. And you're right. Like, it's absolutely part of the human experience. And, even though there's a lot of cultural, social stigma around it, it's, whether we choose to buy into the cultural stigma or not, right? On a personal level. But it's like everybody's got something, like some secret, something about themselves, something that they could use to make themselves feel not enough, or that they wouldn't be appropriate for a relationship, or that they don't want someone to know, that they're shameful about. And I also think that there's something to be said for, and I think you mentioned this in the conversation with Lauren, about just accepting that it's just something about you that is it's not your identity. Like, it's just something about you. Someone else might have, student loan debt. Someone else might have, you know what I mean? And obviously
much more,
right?
Which everybody has.
Exactly, but we all have those things that could be considered deal breakers by certain people. And if they are deal breakers, then I always say every rejection is a favor, because I love that line. But if they are deal breakers, you're right. Like, that's someone that you wouldn't want in your life anyway.
Right. And also understand why they might be freaked out, because they're raised in the same culture that's, could be quite sex negative, and that, people are afraid, they don't have sex education. They don't know what it means. They don't know, or they're just scared of their own bodies. Yeah. So talking to that person about it and being transparent and letting them know what the deal is, and letting them know how they can protect themselves, and what you will do to protect them, and just have know if you do have an STI, if you have been diagnosed with an STI, learn about the STI, learn about transmission, learn about what the, percentage of transmitting it is, and then learn about what the treatments and how you can take care of yourself. A lot of times when people get an STI diagnosis, they end up taking better care of themselves because they need to have their immune system up. So learn about it. Don't you be scared of it yourself. Yeah. Because you need to take care of yourself so you can take care of your partners. Pretending like it's not happening is not the way to do it. Yeah.
Plus, it's dangerous. It's probably why so much of the population has them, because so many people pretend like they don't have them. Right?
And plus, if you know that you have it, that is your best defense against giving it to somebody else.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Like every time, like we've talked about this before. Over the summer, we did a series called The Summer of Sexploration, and we did 2 shows about STIs. And STIs makes the Facebook quiet, makes the room quiet. Like everyone gets very like reverent when it comes to this discussion. Yeah. It's like money. It's like one of those hard things to talk about, right? It's like people have a lot of energy around it and a lot of like.
Yeah. But there are viruses, and you know, some of them are much more, you know, life-threatening than others. But you know, in the end, there are viruses. Be curious about your body. Take care of your body so you can take care of your partners.
Yeah. And it's also another opportunity to look at, you know, the possibility of a shame story, because there is so much shame surrounding
100%.
Right? Like 100%. How do I let go of this? Like, am I shaming myself about it? Am I like,
right.
Yeah.
You deserved it. You got this because you did something that you weren't supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Or you're doing it the wrong way, or whatever it is, that God is punishing me, or whatever the story is that I've heard like 5 million times. And I'm like, no, that's not what that is. It's just a virus.
It's part of the human experience, honey. So we had to restart the Facebook Live. I know you audio people don't care because you're just listening anyway. So, you know, now we have Ike and Lee is back. Thank you, Lee. Devin is back. Lisa's back. Devin, we will get back to your topic on another show. That's a whole nother realm, a whole nother level. And we're, as always, running out of time. We're already like 40 minutes in.
How is that happening?
I know, right? And we still have 2 more that we want to talk about. Does anybody want to say anything about any of the previous ones that we've talked about? Anybody burning with anything?
Like an STI.
That's right, exactly. itching and burning. This is the time to talk about it.
Agree for that. Yeah. Well, we're gonna go to Dwayne Reed afterwards.
Exactly. Okay, so the 4th one that came up a lot was just like being afraid of it. Like after being on a long hiatus of like not being intimate with anyone and just, you know, feeling nervous, not knowing what to do, how to approach it.
Right.
You know, I feel like if you've been sitting on your couch every night and eating pizza or whatever,
spaghetti,
right? And I'm like, I'd be eating pizza. You know, like for a long enough period.
You're healthy. Oh my God. Wow.
Bananas.
Oh my. Catherine.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Catherine Spilby. Lee says Ola again. Thank you, Lee, for always coming back and joining us. We're gonna cut the video together for those of you who watch it later on YouTube. But yeah, what do you do if you're like just in a space of like, you know, it's like if you're someone who works out and then you don't work out for like a year, and then you got to figure out how to like get back on that horse. I feel like dating is a lot like that too, because dating is a practice, right?
Oh yeah. Especially when you get older and you're in, again, like you're saying, you're in your routine. You probably have an apartment or a house that you want to be in.
Yeah.
Right. And you're hanging. You know, you can hang hard. You don't feel like you need to go to every new restaurant or club. Maybe, I mean, everybody's different, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that, but the best way to do it is to do it. You need to get your ass off the couch, and you need to force yourself. You need to challenge yourself in a way. Because we can get so comfortable. And I think after a while, there's this thing called the confidence competency loop.
Okay.
And it's basically the more that you do something and you prove to yourself that you can do it, the more confidence you have doing it.
Yeah.
So really creating a plan of how you're going to get out there. What are you going to do? What are the avenues? If you're still like with your butt on the couch with the pizza, like, start with the planning phase.
Yeah.
You know, start with the plan. How would I meet people? If I wanted to meet people and get out there and date, what are the different ways that I could go? And just start kind of writing it out. Okay, I could try apps. I could, you know, go to more events, or I could actually look around while I'm at events.
Yeah.
If you're still going out, if you're going out and you're doing stuff, sometimes you're like, well, I know, and I like, you know, I was not, nobody hit on me. But maybe you're just like this. You just have your blinders on. So keeping your eyes open for opportunities, you know, getting a friend who's also single and saying like, okay, listen, let's go to, you know, these events, and both of us have to talk to 3 people we don't know. You know, just give each other a challenge and push each other and push
accountability.
yourself.
Yeah.
How about being more organic? Like finding things that you're interested in and just going for those.
Yes.
And just, you know, exploring people, or just, venues like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Other than just going for singles or dating or apps or.
Absolutely. And the important thing when you do those things is to see it as an opportunity to perhaps meet somebody. Because if it's like you're organically, you like to do those things, but like you might not think like, oh, I like to go listen to this kind of music or whatever. I like to cake decorating.
No. So the idea is like, even if I'm not meeting somebody, I'm still enjoying something I have an interest.
Yeah.
Right.
Doing something.
Have fun out of it.
Right, but then also not be like, this is not a place I could meet somebody, right? Like not being like, I'm just here because I really like this artwork, but like I'm not gonna meet anyone here. So then you were gonna try to confirm that bias that you have in your mind, and you're not gonna be like, oh look, there's like a totally hot person over there, and get like excited about it. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to diss cake decorating.
No. I was just knowing I've never been to a cake decorating.
I don't even know what that is. Sorry.
So what were you gonna say?
To add to that, I think part of it too is being able to release yourself from expectations. That like you absolutely want to have a plan and want to think, okay, what do I need to be doing here?
Yeah.
Because dating is a skill. Being flirty, building tension, being vulnerable, making connections. It's a skill like anything that takes time to get back into.
Yeah.
But if you go into any situation thinking, okay, I want to walk out with a date, I want to walk out with a phone number, that's when you really get tripped up.
Yeah.
And, instead it's just meeting people because you don't know. Maybe you don't meet your next partner, but you meet the person that introduces you to them. Like there's no reason.
It's
not
funny
to
that
go
you're
out
saying that because
and meet
Lee
people.
is saying everybody needs a good wingman. So I like how the men are on the same wavelength.
Yeah. No, I've had friends that say, you know what, give me $100 in 20s, and every time you go talk to somebody new, I'm going to give you one of your $20 back.
Oh.
So
That's
good.
good.
It's like it's a fun
motivation
game.
to like,
I think another part of it is like feeling the fear and doing it anyway.
Yeah.
A lot of times we get like all wrapped up in our heads and we're like, oh, like this terrible thing's gonna happen if I do this, and then you go and it's completely fine.
Right.
So I think a big part of it as well is like, okay, you might feel scared, but get it together, go out there and put yourself out there.
Yeah, and that's
just have fun.
And just have fun.
That's
Yeah.
the confidence competency thing. That's like you go out, you do something, you're like, I'm gonna go, instead of sitting on my couch in sweatpants eating pizza, I'm gonna like go to a restaurant, sit at a bar. I like this food, I like this whatever. And you're like, I can do it. This isn't so scary. It's like it doesn't have to be like blast off, but it's like baby steps of like getting out of your protective sweat panted bubble.
Pizza eating.
But sometimes it's so good.
Sometimes you need it. Yeah.
Lee says using your friends can help you get back out there. Yeah.
For sure, Lee.
Absolutely. I see Bex joined us. Hi, honey.
All right. So yeah, I mean we're like whizzing through the time right now. So let's go to the very last one. The very last one that I think I find often, especially since I work mainly with women who are over the age of 35. The reason I say 35 is because I feel like that's sort of a transitional age.
Yeah.
Not because it means anything. It's like whatever we make it mean, right? But culturally, I think we make it mean something that we get to
being
serve.
more hot.
Right? Exactly. Right? Exactly. But and I'm not sure, Alex, you can maybe chime in, from what you think men generally feel. But it's this thing that I think can happen a lot of times, especially with a lot of clients that I work with, where they just like stop believing in it, like stop believing that there's somebody out there for me, that I'll ever find anyone, that it's something that was ever meant for me, like just the decision that
Numbers game.
It's a numbers game, or just that I'm not meant for that. I actually have a couple friends who aren't clients who are like, I'm just going to do my career. Like, I don't see this happening. I don't trust anybody. Like, I have no interest in changing my life. So, I think that can be a problem if what's going on deep down is that you still want that connection. And I feel like we're human beings. Like, deep down, don't we all want like love and connection on some level?
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of times we deny ourselves that. So what do you think about actually being able to get out of that denial and believe again? Because you were talking about hope earlier.
Yeah. I always say like, hope dies last. So if you don't have hope, you're probably not going to make something happen for yourself.
Yeah.
And happen for yourself. I mean, if I think sometimes when people have that deep down, they still want it and they have this facade of like, oh, it's not for me. I'm just going to focus on my career. I think a lot of times they have a little bit of the Cinderella thing. Like they think that somebody's going to knock on their door or whatever it is, or they're going to magically appear. They're hoping for it, but they're fronting like they don't care.
Yeah.
Or, you know, in a way, they're just too scared to care anymore. You know, there's a certain amount of resilience that you need to have when you're out there dating.
Yeah.
And if you allow disappointments and experiences that didn't actually go the way that you wanted them to, or just were really terrible, it's hard to keep hope. But in the end, it's not your hope in the other people and in the dating pool. Like I hear that so much everywhere that I work with people from all over the country and the world, and it's like it's hard to date in Manhattan, Miami, Madrid, Los Angeles. So it's terrible everywhere. You know, blame it on. Of course, there's you know, there's opportunity structures, right? Like there's opportunity structures. If you go to a place and there's no people there for you to date, like that's going to be impossible. But, you know, also like checking your own mindset is really important. Being like, if I really want this, why don't I freaking deserve it? Like, why don't I just like try to do it and try and maybe it won't work out this time or the next time, that whatever, but like, this is what I really want.
Yeah.
So really check in with yourself and ask yourself, like, have I really given up? Like, am I really over this? Like, do I just not want to be with somebody? Like, just check in with yourself and be really, really sure if you say that. Once you start thinking that, you're going to not see anybody.
I think that relationships are good casting. You know, you have to be cast into the role that you need to play, you know, because it's like, if you don't get along with someone, it's not that they're a bad person and you're a bad person. It's just you're not cast in the right play together.
Timing.
Timing, whatever. Because my first husband was a very famous comic book writer. So it always comes up in the conversation. Have you been married, or are you divorced? And I was like, I try and soft pedal it, but eventually it comes out that, you know, my husband was Captain America, and it's like, what? And then they feel like they can't compete. And so I try and downplay that, you know, so that it comes up later. Yeah. So I just try and be me. So it's not like I'm me married to this famous guy that passed away, and I'm keeping his memory alive. Because I'm still very much involved. I was telling Candace in my husband's legacy, because he was a good guy. He was the number 2 guy in Marvel Comics. He married me for a reason, and he died young, so I'm keeping his memory alive. But I have that at that point where I meet somebody and it's like, oh, and then they don't feel they can compete with my, you know, Harvey.
But that's a story in their head.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's, you know, if you're intimidated by what somebody else is saying, that's you messing yourself up or somehow thinking you're not good enough. And it's almost like this assumption that, well, you must be looking for somebody exactly like that because that's what your first husband was like. And it's not true.
It's not.
Yeah.
That's such a good point. With that. It says more about them than it says about you, because, I mean, unless you are dating and you're like, guess what? My first husband
Captain America. And he was amazing. Right? You'll never get
it. I'll be like, maybe you should like check yourself a little bit.
He was Captain America.
I think another point too. Hi, I'm here.
Jamie's here. Everybody knows Jamie.
They're so far away.
In the back.
I hope everybody can hear me. But I think one of the points that's kind of emerging is that we change. You know, as humans, we evolve in every moment. And so when you have this idea of, I don't want it actually, I don't want love, maybe it's just that you have a different version that you want to explore. So maybe you want companionship.
I like that.
Maybe you want
amazing.
a different kind of sexual relationship.
You should work at the V Club.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I spoke with a group of ladies who were much older than I am, and this is what they had to say. You know, they have different things that they want now. And I think that's true, you know, in your 20s and your 30s and whatever. Everybody is changing all the time, and as you learn more, you learn what you want more. And sometimes if you have your mind like stuck in this idea of what a romantic relationship looks like,
Such a good point.
Maybe definitely you want to reject that and create something new. So I think that's important to
That's an amazing
Absolutely.
point,
Yeah.
Jamie. That's
Mhm.
incredible.
Thank you for that.
Yeah,
Came in the back
Yeah.
at the end.
And then
All right. And we're just about out of time. Sheila, I want to make sure that you get an opportunity to let everybody know how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, of
Whether
course.
you'd like for them to get in touch with you for specifically,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, great. Well, thank you so much for having me. It
Oh,
was
it's my
great to
pleasure.
talk to all of you guys.
Yeah.
And I definitely learned some really great pointers as well that I'm going to share with clients. You can find me at www.shulamelamed.com. And you can see the spelling of my name on the ad for this.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be having an event this coming Monday for women. It's the Foundation 101. It's a relationship coaching workshop, and it's one of the introductory, most foundational courses that I have. You can find me on Instagram at Shula Melamed, and on Twitter at Shula Melamed, Facebook, Shula Melamed, MAMPH. And I'd love to extend a complimentary consultation to any of the watchers, viewers, listeners, Instagrammers. Just mention Ask for Candy, and I will give a complimentary 30-minute consultation.
Woo, I love that.
Yeah, and if you have any questions, you can reach out to me, info@shulamelamed.com.
Yay. Thank you, Shula. You were
Thank you.
fantastic.
Thank
You know
you.
you're going to have to come back on again, right?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Awesome. Another new thing that we're doing is core questions. So you're going to have to, once a month, I want to do core questions.
Okay.
So you're going to have to come on for one of our core
I'm
questions.
totally
So-
into it. I'm into
All
it.
right. So
Yeah.
Shula's going to be in our hopper. She's coming on again. And you guys, just so you know, I do my Peace, Purpose, and Partnership workshop. I'm doing one here at the V Club on Thursday night. So if you are a single lady and you live in New York City or in the tri-state area and you can get here on Thursday night, even if you live elsewhere, you can be in LA and take the red eye on Wednesday and be here in time to take the workshop on Thursday night. And what else? Oh, and here's the thing about Peace, Purpose, and Partnership. So, if you missed out on the first one, you'll get an opportunity to get in here. And I have a half price promo code if you PM me. And here's just a few things to consider to decide whether this will be right for you. So if you toggle back and forth between hardcore dating and ignoring your love life altogether, you need to be at this workshop. If you've tried it all, called in the one, followed the rules, waited 90 days, become a master sexter for what seems like nothing but more struggle, you definitely want to be at this workshop. If you console yourself because you think you'll never find the right partner, be at this workshop. And if you're sick of the get a man to be happy narrative because you've had a man and you weren't happy, you're going to be at this workshop. And if you ever just decided over and over to just focus on your career while in the back of your mind, really hoping that he'll show up because you're not looking, be at this workshop. November 15th, here at the V Club, Thursday, 6:30. And that's it. I think that's it. You can check this out later on YouTube. For those of you who are on the Facebook Live, we had a little glitch, but I'm going to cut it all together. You'll be able to see it all together later on. You can come back and check it out, and I'll make sure the people who were on the first one know that too. Those of you who are listening on the audio, you'll get the audio like normal. If you want to listen to replays on Spreaker or iHeartRadio, I thank you for being here. Also, I do naked face walks on Instagram. Armed Radio people are leaving. Bye, Armed Radio. And just remember, until next time, never forget you are a love machine. If you ever start to feel like you aren't getting the love you need, just make more and ask for candy. Thank you, everybody at the B Club. Woo! For being on the show. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Lee. Everybody on the Facebook Live, I love you. Thank you for being here. Bye. Bye now.
Candy, I call my sugar.